Good afternoon, Chamber members. For those I have not met yet, my name is Jennifer Thompson, and I am a Realtor and Marketing Director for Hedgecock Group Real Estate. I am also your 2021 Chair-elect for the Fairbanks Chamber Board of Directors. I'd like to take a moment, as we do each week, to thank our executive partners, whose logos you saw on the screen before we began our program today. These businesses provide the foundation that makes our work possible here at the Fairbanks Chamber. These businesses also support the Chamber by sharing their knowledge, their experience that helps shape our advocacy efforts, and they help to create awareness that drives our economic strength for the interior of Alaska. You can see a full list of our executive partners on the screen, or a full list can also be found on our website. I'd now like to welcome Katie to help us recognize our new and renewing members. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you, Jen, and welcome Chamber members and community members. Thanks for joining us today. We would love to welcome our newest members to the Chamber, AARP Alaska and Lane's Quickie Tacos. AARP Alaska is a nonprofit, nonpartisan membership organization that advocates for Alaskans 50 and older, as well as their families. And Lane's Quickie Tacos is a community-minded local Fairbanks taco shack, bringing an eclectic mix of Tex-Mex, Americana, and international fusion tacos and smoked meats. Welcome to the Chamber. And also, we would like to thank our renewing executive partner, Holland America Group and Princess Cruises. Very fitting for today. We appreciate you being a part of the strong support that helps us advocate for Interior Alaska. Thank you to the following renewing members: Edge of the Arctic Trading Post, Gold Standard Real Estate Services, Green Star of Interior Alaska, Hampton Inn and Suites, The Lodge at Black Rapids, Office Max, Wilson & Wilson CPAs, and Yukon Quest International Sled Dog Race. Thank you for your continued membership. And a big thank you to our members who joined our 110% Club this past week, or these 2 past weeks. Those are Anchorage Daily News, Chena Hot Springs Resort, Equipment Source Inc., Greg Martin Photography, and Splash and Dash. These members contribute above and beyond their membership dues to help us with our advocacy actions, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for your membership. Thank you again for joining us, and back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Katie. That sure is encouraging to hear such a nice long list of renewing and new members. Now it's time for our board report. I want to personally invite you guys to attend a special event we've added to our calendar this Thursday. I repeat, this Thursday. Governor Mike Dunleavy will be in Fairbanks to discuss the state budget. He's going to provide remarks on the state's current fiscal situation and also take questions regarding his budget proposal. As many of you know, the Fairbanks Chamber's #1 advocacy priority this year is our long-term fiscal sustainable plan for the state of Alaska. So this presentation fits into our ongoing discussions about how to best achieve our long-term goal. Governor Dunleavy's presentation will take place again this Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. at the Westmark Hotel. Tickets are $10 and you can register. That registration link can be found on our website. Seating is limited, so we encourage everyone to please pre-register, and we also ask you to please attend by at least 12:45 so we can practice that pre-registering check-in list. Other updates from our board is Golden Days. We're happy to announce that the rubber ducky tickets are officially on sale, and you can purchase these tickets at any Sunrise and Bagel coffee locations, Mac Federal Credit Union, or the Chamber office. This year's prizes are as follows. The $10 yellow tickets, top prize is $10,000. Second prize is 2 round-trip tickets on Alaska Airlines anywhere that they fly. And the third grand prize for the yellow tickets is $1,529 scholarship from, of course, Alaska 529 plan. For the $5 pink tickets, top prize is $5,000 in cash. Second prize is a family trip to Anchorage on Alaska Railroad. And the third top prize for those pink $5 tickets is the ATV trailer from Greer Tank and Welding. Please do not miss out on your chance to win these awesome prizes. So get out there and buy your lucky duck today. We are still looking for about 70 remaining prizes to give away for Golden Days. If your business would like to be interested in donating a prize for this race, please reach out to Janelle or Katie at the Chamber office. Next, I would like to welcome Janelle for her President and CEO report. Welcome, Janelle.
Perfect. Thank you, Jen. First of all, in my report, I would like to welcome Suzanne Tansky, who's the newest member of our Chamber team. After developing programs for the Vermont Division of the Blind and developing a taste for public policy, she joins us as Advocacy Coordinator. Yesterday was her first day here in the office, so I'm excited to get her started with our advocacy committees and our advocacy agenda. Suzanne is starting to work with our advocacy committee chairs this week to plan returning our committees to in-person meetings and continuing to meet our advocacy goals. So welcome, Suzanne, to the team. Next, I did want to ask, did you know that you can request a pop-up COVID-19 vaccination clinic at your business or community event? The Fairbanks Chamber has received a grant to encourage and thank community members for getting vaccinated. So please encourage your vaccination provider, if you are going to host one of these clinics, to request those gift cards from the Chamber so we can help you thank your participants for helping us get back to business in Fairbanks. You can find both request forms for the pop-up clinics and for the gift cards on the COVID-19 page on our website. It's one of the quick links that are across the top of our homepage, so very easy to access. You can find details about all the Golden Days events and everything we discussed here today on our website, which is fairbankschamber.org. Back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Janelle. And now it's time for our main presentation. The Fairbanks Chamber is a strong advocate for the tourism industry and its role within our local community. Today, we are happy to have President and CEO of Explore Fairbanks, Scott McCrea, to join us and give us an update on the visitor industry and its road to recovery from the pandemic. A little bit about Scott. Scott began serving as President and CEO of Explore Fairbanks as of June 1st of this year. As a 34-year resident of Fairbanks, he previously worked for the organization as Director of Tourism and Convention Sales. He has more than 25 years of experience working in public relations and marketing in the interior of Alaska. He continues to serve on the board of directors of the Greater Fairbanks Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club of Fairbanks. Scott graduated from UAF in 1994 with a degree in journalism. Thank you, Scott, for joining us today.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, and good afternoon, Chamber members. Definitely a pleasure to be here today to in my new capacity here at Explore Fairbanks. I'm not sure how long it takes to get over the surrealness of having that title of President CEO next to my name. Maybe Janelle, you can give some insights there if you're still kind of in that surreal stage as I go into week 2 of the position. The position here. So I was very humbled and honored when our board of directors selected me to try and fill the shoes of Deb Hickok, our former president and CEO, who so successfully led this organization for 22 years and really under her leadership really redefined who we are as an organization and as a destination. So the baton has been passed on to me. It's a heavy one, but I'm looking forward to running with it. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with the presentation. Jackie. Go to the next slide, please. All right, so just real quickly, because one of the questions I got asked by some people is that congratulations on your new job. What's Explore Fairbanks? So those of you who've been in Fairbanks for a while probably remember us as the Fairbanks Convention and Visitors Bureau. We were incorporated in 1977. You can see there a nice little summary of what our mission is and what we do. I could boil that down even further and say simply our mission here is we sell Fairbanks. We went away from being a Convention and Visitors Bureau back about almost 8 years ago now. And a lot of organizations such ourselves, we're now considered destination marketing and management organizations, kind of gravitated away towards that CVB terminology, which is a bit of a mouthful, and taken a more active term. So we have Explore Fairbanks here. Down south, we have Visit Anchorage, Travel Juneau, and so forth. If there's two things, well, there's a lot of things I want you to take away today. Two of the main ones that are kind of indicated here. One is that we like to refer to our industry as the visitor industry. It might seem like just a simple semantics, but visitors better encapsulates all the various markets that we serve. Tourists are kind of, defined as just being simple leisure travelers who are coming here. But if you look at visitors, that comprises more than just a leisure traveler. There's those who come here on business, for meetings, for conferences, for events. They include visiting friends and relatives. So I know a lot of you probably have relatives and friends from the lower 48 who are coming up here this summer. They are bringing in outside dollars that contribute to the local economy. So if we can get all behind this, calling it the visitor industry, that would be awesome. Second one is that we are a year-round destination. A lot of you probably know that. We have been so successful to be developing that year-round market that we're the envy of a lot of other destinations within Alaska whose visitor season is captured just within that mid-May to mid-September timeframe. We're very fortunate. Summer is our peak season still, but the winter market is one that's been growing the most over the last 10 years. And that was a very concentrated effort on part of our previous leadership and our partners who really try to diversify the products that we offer, taking advantage of the fact that we're such a premier Aurora destination, that we have these amazing winter experiences. So visitor industry, year-round. Next slide, please. So Fairbanks was being marketed as a visitor destination prior to the formation of the CVB in the 70s, in 1977. This cool little brochure here. This was provided by Anchorage historian David Raymer, who does some pretty cool historical facts in the Anchorage Daily News. So this was from the 1950s. And what's really unique about this is that this really follows some of the messaging here, really follows the brand pillars that we continue to use today. The cover there, Gateway to the Arctic, that's part of our messaging for people coming into Fairbanks to be able to access the Arctic. The other one in the little description there, talking about the spirit of friendliness, of Fairbanks' friendliness. That's our Golden Heart theme. I'm not sure though, if in our visitor guide or on our website, we would ever classify Fairbanks folks as having a few stinkers in them. Maybe we talk about sourdoughs and wonderful folks, but it's pretty cool to look back and see some of the colorful terminology that was used in some of those previous marketing endeavors. Next slide, please. So this collage of amazing individuals here, this is the small but mighty team here at Explore Fairbanks. If I would be doing this presentation back in March of 2020, it'd be a much bigger collage of pictures, and I'll talk about that here momentarily. It's pretty remarkable because within our 10 full-time employees that we have here who are exceptionally dedicated to the organization, dedicated to the destination, and part of being successful at selling a destination is you have to have that passion, but also knowledge and awareness of the place we're trying to sell. These 10 people, along with myself too, make up, have a combined 114 years of service here at Explore Fairbanks and more than 400 years of calling Fairbanks their home. That's pretty remarkable. And I would challenge any other organization out there to see if they can match us in terms of that type of longevity. You see on the bottom left, second from the left there, Charity Yadapi. She's our Director of Visitor Services. She's been here for 20 years. Nice profile on her in the Newsminer last Monday. Up on the top there, second over from the right, Casey Gillum, our Assistant Director of Communications. She's been with the organization for 17 years. And then there's some familiar faces if you've been around Fairbanks sometime. We got Bob Ely working Visitor Services, and Jerry Evans and Bill Wright are part of our communication team. So it's amazing to come work each and every day with this amazing team and dedicated colleagues. Next slide, please. And speaking of great people, we are governed by a 15 person board of directors made up from within our partnership, along with ex officios from the City Council and the Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly. Our current board chair, all the way on the right there, is Buzzy Q with Premier Alaska Tours. No stranger. If you've been in Fairbanks a while, she's been around a while. So it's a great group of very dedicated leaders that we have overseeing the governance of our organization. Next slide, please. So, like the rest of Alaska, the primary draw that's bringing visitors here is, of course, Mother Nature, midnight sun, northern lights, etc. But you have to have more than just Mother Nature. You have to have the infrastructure in place, the tour products, the accommodations, the restaurants, the shopping, etc. So we are a membership organization. We have almost close to 400 partners that make up Explore Fairbanks that participate in our co-op marketing endeavors, and also a very dedicated group. And a lot of them, a majority of our partners are small businesses. And, as we look back at the effects of this last year's pandemic, a lot of them were impacted pretty significantly, but they got that Fairbanks spirit of resiliency and moving forward. Beyond the partners that make up our membership, of course, we've got community partners that we work closely with, such as the Chamber of Commerce. The three different city governments that we have here are all part to all of us working together to make all this happen. So next slide. So prior to all this stuff happened last year, the visitor industry was really seeing some record numbers, a very pretty dramatic growth over the last 5 years from 2019 going back. And what was exciting going into 2020 is how it was going to be yet another record-breaking year. In terms of cruise ship visitation, it was anticipated last year 1.4 million visitors would be coming to Alaska. Here in Fairbanks during the summer season, we see about 41% of our visitors are coming here by way of those cross Gulf Alaska cruises. We've been seeing growth in new international markets. We presented to the Chamber before on the growth in the market from mainland China and other international markets, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and India. We're starting to rise to the top. Our reputation as an Aurora destination on a global level was definitely increasing, thus helping add to our success as a year-round destination. And to help meet this growth and visitation, new tourism products, new partners coming on board. Again, small businesses looking for creative ways, new ways to provide an optimal experience for the visitors coming here. But that was pre-COVID. And then next slide. I don't want to talk too much, but we're all trying to not talk about 2020. But I do got to, this paints here just some of the facts and figures behind just how significant and truly devastating is the term that can be used that COVID-19 had on our industry. We were kind of tracking it, I remember January of last year, and this was prior to really that COVID-19 was entering the worldwide dialogue that it was. We had some concerns back then around the time there was the outbreak happening in Wuhan, because there was concern on how that would impact visitation from China during the Lunar New Year. That's a peak travel time there in late January, February, where we see visitors from mainland China. So that was our initial concern. And then, of course, as you all know, you can think back to when was that moment when you realized this is a really big deal. Going into that spring is when we started seeing some really, really significant challenges. Overall, for employment last year, leisure and hospitality sector accounted for 40% of all job losses in Fairbanks. The second was in the transportation sector, which is kind of aligned with leisure and hospitality. Fairbanks International Airport saw a loss of 59% arrivals and departures. Alaska Railroad ridership decreasing, pretty significantly as well. Not listed on here, of course, is border crossings. That's kind of a no-brainer. The border was closed, so obviously those numbers went down quite a bit. And then looking at, in terms of Explore Fairbanks funding, and the reason why we had such dramatic cuts to our budget, the hotel and motel bed tax collections in the borough decreased by 55%. And then finally, looking at meetings and conferences and events, these are ones that Explore Fairbanks had played a role in bringing to interior Alaska. The combined loss economic impact of those that were canceled, postponed, or moved to a hybrid, our virtual format was about 12.2 million direct and indirect. Next slide, please. So for Explore Fairbanks significantly, like I said, we reduced our budget pretty dramatically from 4.2 million to 2.9 million. We were fortunate to kind of cobble together, because it came from like 7 different sources, we were able to get about $686,000 in CARES Act funding. Main source coming from the city of Fairbanks with $426,000, followed by the state with $100,000, and the city of North Pole with $84,000. So that those CARES Act funding in 2020 really helped us get through the year. Like I said, we reduced our staff. We were at 26 personnel in March of last year. That went down to 12, and now there's 11 of us that are here now. Salary reductions across the board. All staff took reductions in their salary. There's the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center there. In terms of impact to number of visitors coming through the building there, a decrease of about 78% in visitors coming through. So the impacts were pretty significant. Next slide, please. But we didn't stop doing what we did. And I think really we look back to the course of last year, we're probably working even harder, especially within our communications team that had to build brand new marketing strategies that we weren't really planning going into 2020. But, 2020 was the year of the pivot. How can we refocus our efforts to do what's going to be best for the destination? So we continued marketing Fairbanks as a destination with a different focus, different messaging. Some of our destination marketing organizations kind of pulled out of marketing altogether, but we felt it was important to still make sure Fairbanks was on the minds of visitors so that when they were ready to travel again, Fairbanks would be a place they were aspiring to go to. So we had a 3-phase campaign that we unveiled last year. We produced about, I think, close to 26 different videos to help assist us with that marketing. So phase 1 was focused on local, doing a series of local spots so that people here within Fairbanks were aware of all these great opportunities they had to explore the area, try out different small businesses so we could help some of those small businesses that were suffering by trying to get local people to experience what they have in their own backyard. And during a summer when it was pretty quiet to do so. Then phase 2, kind of unveiling that campaign to a statewide effort. So a lot of focus within Alaska last year was marketing to other destinations. So we did marketing down to the Anchorage, South Central area, encouraging people to make that trip up the Parks Highway to come to Fairbanks. And then as we started getting into the late summer and getting into our Aurora season, we did some national focus as well, because that's, again, a benefit we have. Other places in Alaska, mid-September, their season's done. Ours keeps going. So we wanted to try to take advantage of the fact that people were slowly returning to travel to get the idea of coming to Fairbanks and exploring this responsibly. So 2 quick videos to show you. The first one was part of our Explore Local campaign to get people to enjoy downtown Fairbanks. And so we'll show this one.
Every town needs a strong downtown. And being known as the Golden Heart City,
I'm not hearing
I
audio
believe
on
downtown Fairbanks is the lifeblood of our community. We have historic buildings dating back to the gold rush days, a vibrant contemporary art scene, coffee shops, restaurants, and new breweries popping over the last few years. I believe if you haven't been downtown in a while, you're missing something. So get out and explore local.
Okay, then the second one here was one as we, as
you
I
may
said,
never
as we
have
started to
stared at
enter
the circle.
Oh, not that one. There we go, this one here.
Some of Alaska's best outdoor adventures are right outside your door, where social distancing is easy. With proper clothing and the right gear, winter in interior Alaska is a great time to get out and get active. Skiing, ice skating, snowmobiling, snowshoeing, and hiking are just a few of the outdoor activities waiting for you. So don your mask, keep your social distancing, wash or sanitize your hands frequently as you explore Fairbanks responsibly.
Like I said, we produced about 26 of those videos over the course of last year. We have a great YouTube channel. I encourage you, all of our social media is pretty phenomenal, but I do encourage you to go to our YouTube channel if you haven't seen some of these videos before, because our comm team did pretty good work. So as we go into 2021, I know this presentation was entitled The Road to Recovery. I think it's important to note that it is an uphill climb to recovery. The estimates are, so when do we get back to the same type of visitation numbers that we had prior to COVID? And it's, the estimates say that's probably not going to be until 2023. So we've still got some time before we can get back up to the number of visitors coming here, whether it be the leisure travelers, the small businesses, the conferences, events, international visitors, which of course we're not seeing, during this time frame. So we're looking ahead to 2023 before we can start seeing some of that return to where we used to be. You can kind of see there, those two charts there show how 2021 has been shaping up so far in terms of the Fairbanks International Airport visitation and then our hotel motel bed tax collections. January and February were both below January and February of 2020, because again, 2020 was starting off at record rate. But you see in March we did better than 2020, but not as good as 2019. So our big thing is, how's 2021 going to be? It's going to be better than 2020. So part of what's going to be needed for recovery for our industry will be funding that's available through the American Rescue Plan Act, which does have specific stipulations for helping aid those economies that were most impacted by COVID-19. And certainly the visitor, leisure, hospitality industry is there. We have some good opportunities here, both through the Fairbanks North Star Borough, great partners of ours. The Mayor Ward and the Assembly are great supporters of our organization and understand the value of investing in destination marketing, as well as through the state of Alaska. So that plan's still out there. Maybe on Thursday's presentation, the governor will have more insight into how those state ARPA funds might be utilized. But those funds are going to be important for us moving forward, especially due to the fact that the funds, we have a 3-year time frame to be able to use those funds. With the CARES Act funding, a lot of it was, it's got to be done by the end of the year. With the ARPA funds, we can invest moving forward, as a lot of our regular activities that we use for marketing, such as the trade shows and sales missions, start come to light. Those funds can help us get back out there in the national and international marketplace. Next slide, please. All right, so let's talk about the good news. Janelle said she was excited for my presentation today because I was going to talk about good news. And there is good news. There is definitely signs of positivity for 2021. A big one is that as you look at trends, surveys, et cetera, of consumers in the domestic market all throughout last year, people were asked, what type of attributes in a destination do you desire to experience when you can travel again? And some of those that kind of rose to the top is people wanted national parks. There's big gravitation towards national parks, wide open spaces, places with not that many crowds. That's like, well, hello, welcome to Alaska, the ultimate social distancing destination. So we are seeing that confidence out there in people wanting to travel, and we're seeing them wanting to travel to places such as Alaska, such as Fairbanks, that have those attributes they're looking for. Pretty remarkable this summer is that we have record capacity at the Fairbanks International Airport. That was a welcome celebration we did for the inaugural American Airlines Dallas-Fort Worth to Fairbanks flight, 33% increase in capacity over 2019. So new carriers, new access to new markets, Dallas-Fort Worth, Salt Lake City being a couple of examples. We're also seeing, and I'm sure some of you have been seeing this as well, that the airfares right now are just amazingly low. In fact, there's talk now, I don't know if any of you ever follow Scott McMurran, who's with Alaska Travel Grant. He's like Alaska's expert on travel to Alaska in terms of airfares and so forth. But right now he's saying that it is better, someone in Anchorage who wanted to fly to a lower 48 destination, it would be better to drive up to Fairbanks and fly out from Fairbanks because our fares are that much lower than they are in Anchorage, which that's never the case. So amazingly low airfare. So it's making it very affordable for people within some of those lower 48 markets to come up here to Fairbanks. And they are taking advantage of them. We are seeing an influx of visitors here. We just hit on Friday, we had more than 300 visitors at the Morris Thompson Center, which is the first time we've broken the 300 mark since February of last year. What's interesting, though, about the visitors is they're coming at the last minute because they're seeing these amazing low deals. So they're making last minute bookings to come up to Fairbanks and arriving here and in need of a lot of assistance because they haven't really planned what they're going to do once they're here. But they're coming, and that's the domestic leisure market. This summer, visitor industry operations that were shuttered last summer have resumed operation. We're starting to see capacity, especially, for example, in Denali National Park with their shuttle bus. So more capacity being allowed on the shuttle buses there. So people are, things might look a little differently, but we're able to offer that same type of experience. And we're getting back to those small meetings, events, and conferences. As we talked about at the beginning here, Chamber's going to be going back to in-person soon. So we're seeing those smaller meetings and others coming forth here too, which is an important driver to our economy. Next slide, please. So our campaign for this summer is we're kind of continuing some of that messaging with the Explore Fairbanks responsibly, both still local and in-state, as well as national focus, specific to those markets that are providing the new service to Fairbanks. And we've also started this year an Explore Fairbanks Responsibly pledge for our partners, those partners who pledge that they are following these recommended and oftentimes ever-changing CDC guidelines. They get this cool Explore Fairbanks Responsibly pledge because we want visitors when they're coming here to feel that they're going to be safe. We were very fortunate with this campaign that we launched to receive a COVID-19 Safe Travel Grant that was done through DCCED. There's about 12 other entities similar to ours in the state that received these funds. And so part of that messaging is to encourage visitors when they're coming here, come and get your vaccine. So at the Fairbanks International Airport starting June 1, they have free vaccines available for visitors. So kind of incorporating that into our messaging. So, and this next slide here, the video we're going to show, this is one of the commercials that we're utilizing in those lower 48 markets.
Now is the time to discover spectacular. This summer, we invite you to explore Fairbanks, Alaska responsibly. Bask in the everlasting sunshine. Now is the time to discover spectacular interior Alaska adventures, attractions, and tours. Hop on a plane, get vaccinated upon arrival. Then, explore the land of the midnight sun. Explore Alaska's golden heart. Explore Fairbanks.
All right. And next slide. Okay, so there's positivity, but there are some challenges. Some of them were pretty much unexpected as well. So it's very exciting news that our congressional delegation, Senator Murkowski, Senator Sullivan, Congressman Young, were able to get bipartisan support in both Senate and Congress. I don't know how often that happens these days for Alaska to get a waiver, for cruise companies to get a waiver from what's called the Passenger Vessel Services Act, which goes all the way back to 1886. It's a pretty antiquated law, but it requires that foreign flagged vessels with a passenger capacity of more than 100 passengers, if they're sailing between two U.S. ports, they have to make a stop at a foreign port. So that's why those cruise ships that come out of Seattle are on their way to Southeast Alaska and Seward, Whittier, and so forth. They've got to make a stop in Canada. Of course, Canada has their ban on the cruise ships from entering their ports until February of next year. So they got this exemption from the Passenger Vessel Services Act so that those cruise ships don't have to stop in Canada. So there is a return to cruising, but it's just the Southeast Alaska cruise, which is great for those communities down there who were so seriously impacted as well from the loss of the season last year. So cruises are coming back, but they're just not making their way to the Gulf of Alaska for those land tour options that get people up here to Fairbanks. Other Canadian woes is that to the U.S., the border's still closed. So we typically see in the summer about 10% of our visitors come by way of highway traffic, RVers, et cetera, from the lower 48 who make their way up through Canada and the Alcan Highway. That's not an option for this summer. There's some speculation as we go into the later summer months that ban might be lifted, but that remains to be seen. And then, of course, we've got the ban, this international travel from those countries that make up our core international market. We were saddened when I talked about the increase in air capacity for this coming summer. Just this last week, Condor Air, which has been providing service from Frankfurt to Fairbanks through Anchorage, they announced that they were canceling their summer season coming into Fairbanks. This is going to be their 20th anniversary, so it's unfortunate but not surprising because there's the ban in effect there. It was just they didn't see that there was a possibility of being able to resume those flights this summer. So we've lost Condor. International visitors do make up a pretty significant portion of our visitor mix, on a year-round basis. And we see a higher percentage of international visitors in the summertime than the state does, especially as we go into the late summer seasons when the Aurora season kicks off. The two unexpected issues that we did not see coming but are having to respond to, one is the rental car shortage, a pretty significant one. Last year during the pandemic, a lot of rental car companies had to sell off their fleet to be able to make ends meet with the hope that going into this year, they'd be able to replenish their fleet. But there's a manufacturing issue in terms of cars coming off the assembly line. And if you go to the car dealerships around Fairbanks, you can see the impact on the lots there. So it's a pretty serious rental car shortage. We had reports of visitors who were actually those last minute visitors who were booking their trips, canceling them because they weren't able to find a rental car when they got to Fairbanks. So we responded by doing a transportation survey of our partners to identify a listing of ways that people who are coming to Fairbanks can still get around and see the area without having a car. That's on our website. If you're in an industry where you get calls from potential visitors and you're hearing these same types of challenges, I encourage you to use that resource. And the other one, in terms of the shortage, is a shortage of employees. A lot of our industry partners, hotels, restaurants, et cetera, are having a very challenging time filling positions that are needed to meet the demand of visitors that is coming. And there's a lot of speculation as to why those challenges are. There has been people have suggested perhaps that the generous unemployment benefits that were in place was deterring people from applying for jobs. That here in the state, those benefits, that extension of the benefits has ended. So we'll see if that results in people applying and looking for positions within the industry. It's definitely needed. I know it's not just the visit industry. I think it's seen at a lot of different levels, a challenge of finding employees for this coming summer season at a variety of levels. And next slide and final slide. So this was a really lovely picture taken last year during the height of the pandemic at the Westmark Hotel. I know that there is a saying that hope is not a strategy, but there are kind of once in a lifetime moments, such as a global pandemic, where I think we really did have to have hope and faith combined with proactive marketing and being resilient and vigilant and never giving up. And that's what we did here at Explore Fairbanks. That's what our partners did. We kept moving forward. And it's great to work with within this amazing industry of people who have that passion, that enthusiasm, that dedication to overcome those challenges, to work together to overcome those challenges to help us get us on that road to recovery. So with that concludes my presentation. I'll be more than happy to answer any question you might have. There's my contact information, email and cell phone. You can contact me at any time. I love talking about this industry, especially with our partners throughout the Fairbanks region. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott, for taking the time to share with us that update. It's very informative. It is encouraging to know that we are making progress, especially after the pandemic. And so at this time, we're going to go ahead and see if there are any questions that have been submitted in the online chat. And if you have not had a question and you would like to ask one, please take a moment to go ahead and type that in the chat now. So Janelle, what kind of questions do we have?
Yeah, so the first one that came in was you kind of touched, Scott, on the issues with the Canadian border being an impediment to people driving up to travel to Alaska. Is there anything else you can tell us about that situation beyond that the Canadian government will review again in June? I mean, are there any back channels? Are we hearing anything else about how that might go?
Yeah, no. So it went into effect. So it was March of last year when that border closure went into effect, and every month they set a time frame. It's going to expire on the 21st of the next month, and around the 19th or so, we'd look. Okay, what's the news reporting? What's going to happen? It keeps getting bumped another month. No, I was trying to look on the news today just to see if there was any sort of update. We're facing again June 21, summer solstice is when we're. We'll see if a decision's made then. I think there's some discussion that it might be open to those fully vaccinated. That's kind of a big thing. There's things that open up specific to fully vaccinated. So that was some of the conversation I saw today. But aside from that, no hard news other than come June 19th, I'll be doing a Google search to see what it looks like come June 21. And I think that also just too, as we look at the employment, I did want to speak quickly because it kind of relates to the employment challenge too. I think that's been an impact too from, out-of-state visitors who might drive up to work in the visitor industry for the summer season. I think that's caused some challenges there for those seasonal workers too.
That's interesting. You alluded to some of the challenges. It's one of the questions I thought of while you were speaking was some of the challenges that Fairbanks is having, and I guess Alaska in general is particularly having in regards to the visitors, is we have some specific challenges that don't seem to be shared by other parts of the U.S. Particularly there's an international border between us and anyone else who can reach us by road. So you're kind of in the position of international diplomacy as well as, trying to figure out how to convince people to come here. So I guess I'm curious, do you talk with other destination marketing organizations? Are others dealing with some of these same factors, or are those really the way they seem, a lot of them very specific to here?
Well, there's definitely, commonality within, other, destinations as well. I mean, across the country, there's a lot of markets out there that are pretty reliant on that international visitation that are definitely feeling those the same challenges that we are as well. The rental car challenge, that's a national issue. The employment issue, that's a national issue. So there are, I think there's actually more commonalities in terms of what our challenges are right now than differences. It seems to be widespread across the entire domestic visitor industry.
Yeah, you mentioned the rental cars. I will say in a lot of places, the Chamber of Commerce also runs the visitor center. So we're getting a lot of calls about rental cars as well. So it's great to know that you have that resource. I just looked it up on your website that we can refer people to some options.
Yeah, if anyone out there has any spare vehicles, if you haven't heard of Turu.com, it's like Airbnb for cars. I'd encourage you to put your car on the market. I think it's a guaranteed source of revenue for you for this coming summer.
I've seen a lot of cars in neighbors' yards. I'm just saying there are cars out there available. Okay, so someone did ask, and I'm not sure I'm totally understanding this question in this context, but if you're aware of various agencies or banks that are involved with CARES Act funding or recovery efforts for businesses, I guess specifically to the visitor industry, are there other sources of money out there for the organizations, the businesses that are providing those tours and other options?
Yeah, and that's why we're with the, in particular with the state ARPA funds. We had about a month ago, Lieutenant Governor Myers, he did a kind of a road trip, did a listening tour around Alaska to visit those communities that were impacted by the visitor industry loss to see what are ways that the state could provide some of those ARPA funds to those small businesses that were most impacted. And what was important about that conversation we had with the Lieutenant Governor is that the initial focus seemed to really just be on crews, on those communities that were impacted just by the loss of cruise ships. And we use that opportunity with a number of our partners around the table with them to explain how it's more than just how the market is in Southeast Alaska. Up here in interior South Central, it is a year-round market, and there's businesses that operate year-round that were impacted by this, not just during those the summer months too. So I think we're kind of waiting to see what the next steps are within the Senate, of course, and the House on what's going to be that plan for those ARPA funds. Say Governor Dunleavy he's been pretty clear, though. He understands that this industry has been seriously impacted and is, I think, very much interested in ways to make sure that money is given to those that were most impacted by those losses this last year. So more to come on that one.
Okay, sounds good. One other, I guess it's kind of a small detail, but I was curious when you mentioned there was a 33% increase in passenger capacity at Fairbanks International Airport over the numbers for 2019. But then we weren't expecting a full recovery in the industry until 2023. So maybe can you just help us understand what's the difference then between that capacity and actual people?
Yeah. Capacity is just simply number of seats that are available on the plane. So there's 33% more seats available through all these carriers that are coming in. The fact that there are those seats available doesn't necessarily mean there are passengers within those seats. I had a trip from the outside just a couple weeks ago coming in on a flight from Seattle, and there was the numbers are pretty low. We haven't seen the airport stats for the month of May yet, so there's that potential. There's 33% more potential over 2019. Whether that potential turns into actual numbers, we'll have to see as the summer goes on.
Well, it's a good start at least.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's all the questions we're seeing. So I think I will turn it back over to Jen to close it out.
Thank you again, Pat, for your presentation and for answering those questions for us today. And thank you to everyone who joined us and tuned in for your time and for your engagement. We hope to see you all here again next Tuesday when we hear from Golden Valley Electric Association CEO John Burns. And so that's it for today. Thank you, Fairbanks.